Squirrels! So hello, and welcome to another Legends of Runeterra video. My name is Chris, and today we will be playing Budget Bannerman. Yes, we will be continuing our budget series, and this time we will be playing a budget version of a very competitive deck indeed. Of course, these budget decks, for one, obviously aren't going to be quite as strong as the non-budget counterpart. That's why they are budget decks, but they are still hopefully very strong in their own right. I'm trying to build them as strong as possible so that those who are new to the game, maybe don't have full collections, can still play very competitive decks without needing to, spend money on the game or, pour hours into the game that they might not have. And this is a very competitive list that, again, is completely championless, is only commons and uncommons, so just green and blue, which tend to be, not too difficult to craft. And this one I think is mostly commons itself. There isn't even too many uncommons in it. So with that said, let's talk through the list. Let's talk through what this deck is trying to do, and then get into some games. So actually I'll start with what Bannerman is for those of you who don't know. Bannerman is a deck that essentially is the most sort of quintessential mid-range type list in this game. It's probably the closest thing to a sort of zoo deck that you can get, and that you want to play a creature on turn 1, creature on turn 2, creature on turn 3, creature on turn 4, and then force favorable trades to get, you essentially have better, bigger units than they do, and then you just overwhelm them near the end of the game. Now let's talk about the cards that we have got rid of in a typical Bannerman list, and cards that you could include if you do have them. Fiora is often seen in one of these slots, and is potentially pretty powerful in the right areas. So is Garen. He is a potential option for this type of deck as well. And Vi is a third champion that has seen some play in a Bannerman type list, replacing Garen in those lists. But what's interesting about this deck is neither Fiora nor Garen nor even Vi are really where this deck gets its power from. They're good, strong units, but very often they're just Fiora is basically played because she's a challenger, and that can sometimes be an alternate win condition that can win you the game. Garen is played because he's a 5-mana 5/5 with an upside. But really, the difference between Garen and our Radiant Guardian, which we've kind of subbed in, is actually quite minimal. And the cards that we've replaced tend not to have too big an impact. Another one that we have replaced is Unyielding Spirit. Again, strong card in certain circumstances, especially if you put it on Fiora perhaps, but not essential to the deck at all. You could definitely play Bannerman without it. There is only one card which I think we have cut that is essential to this kind of list, and that is Cytherea the Bold. Cytherea the Bold is definitely a very strong card, perhaps even one of the strongest cards in the game, and is kind of essential in this list. And I would say if you have any of this card, put this card in. You'll see what we've replaced it with, but if you have this card is sort of somewhat essential to the deck. We're still playing, I think, a very strong version of it, but if you've got any Cytherea the Bolds, I would suggest putting them in. With that said, let's talk through the cards that we do have and are playing. So we've got Cytherea of Cloudfield here. As I say, we're going to be hopefully playing units turn 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So obviously we need some 1-drop units, and Cytherea is a strong, well, not super strong, but just a nice 2/2 body to get things going. Fleet Feather Tracker is probably one of the best 1-drops in the game, particularly combined with our 2-drops that you will see, and is often a very strong start for this kind of deck. And luckily for us, we get to keep all of those cards in there. Ranger's Resolve has been shown to be a particularly strong card as well. Very good in mirror matches for, you've gone for a big attack, they've gone for the big trades, it's going to be empty boards afterwards, you play Ranger's Resolve, all of a sudden you kill all their units and they kill none of yours. Very, very strong effect indeed. Bright Steel Protector, very strong card, goes well with Fleet Feather. Fleet Feather into Protector is just a ridiculous combo turn 1, turn 2, and is very, very strong. 1 Purify, I've always liked 1 Purify in this kind of list. I think it is very, very helpful, particularly against they who endure matchups, but also anything else, elusives or other areas where this deck might struggle, can win you a game sometimes with these purifies. Single combat is a very strong card, just in general. It's just a really, really good card. War Chefs, again, very strong 2-drop, and this is a typical Bannerman list, right? Thankfully for us, most of the cards in this Bannerman list are commons and uncommons, so we can include them, and War Chefs is one of those very strong units as well. Lauren Protege is our sub-in for Fiora. He was actually seen play before in Bannerman decks, and Bannerman decks were still very strong before the expansion. So Protege is by no means a slouch. Oftentimes he will trade into 2 units, particularly if they've played a unit on 1 or 2. Often Protege will trade into that unit and then potentially get a trade off on another unit after that, and obviously that's a very, very strong ability indeed. Badger Bear is just a strong card. It's a 3-mana 4/4. Not much to say about that. Guzzle Ranger, probably one of, if not the strongest cards in the game. If you were like, Chris, what should I craft? What's a safe craft for any card? This one would definitely be up there. But thankfully it is only uncommon, so it can fit in this deck. 3 Repost. You can use Prismatic Barrier as, if you are running out of uncommons, you can use that as a sort of secondary option, but I think Repost is a bit better because it can often win you games. Say you've got them down on low health, right? Repost comes in and is often good when, you know, they try and drain your unit to kill it. That's the one that they haven't blocked because they thought, okay, that's going to kill that. You repost it, it does extra damage, and the drain doesn't go off. Very strong ability indeed, and also good for trading defensively. Bannerman, who the deck is named after, we are only playing 3 non-Demacia cards, so it will almost always go off, and is kind of, you know, what the deck is named for. And essentially this is what we're going to do. We're going to play units, then get favorable trades, and then buff them all up and create a board state that is sort of overwhelming. Radiant Guardian, as I say, is our substitution for Garen, and is potentially very, very strong if a unit has died. It can win you games against aggro, and that's the thing, including Radiant Guardian for this deck makes the matchup against aggro decks slightly better than perhaps a normal Bannerman deck would have, because if you can get a Radiant Guardian on the board, you can essentially win the game against any aggro deck. Swiftwing Lancer, very strong card, gives you a card when it dies. This card is actually probably one of those cards that doesn't get talked about enough for how strong it is. This card is kind of nuts when you look at it. It's a 5-mana 5/4 challenger, so it will often trade into at least 1, probably 2 units, and then create you a unit in hand. They might need to look at this card. I think that this card is sort of secretly a very, very strong card that they might want to look at. And our substitution for Cytherea the Bold is Citrus Courier, which is a very, very strong 6-drop. Plunder, heal allies, and your Nexus 3, then rally. And I've already talked about that this deck wants to basically make favorable trades, but favorable trades means that likelihood is that your units have taken some damage. So healing them 3 often will actually, you know, that effect will actually come into play, and then rallying as well obviously can potentially win you games. And it's not as good as Cytherea, I will say, and it does suffer from one particular thing in this deck, is that Plunder is very hard to enable in this list because we don't have any ways of really plundering on their turn, so it will have to be played on your turn. But I still think it's very strong 6-drop. It has big surprise value in a sort of mirror match. Say you attacked, and then the priority goes to them. They play Cytherea the Bold, then you can do this and you can essentially win the game. If they commit to a big play on turn 6, which normally is around the time when most decks will commit to a big play, this can really win you a game, and it's a very strong card in general. So with that said, this is a very competitive list. If you do want to go down it, you can put in Garen and Fiora if you wish. I would definitely recommend putting in Cytherea the Bold. The champions actually aren't that important. I mean, you could go Lucian if you wanted, that's fine as well. Misfortune, fine. Quinn, fine. These are all very reasonable options for you to pick. But now let's get into some games. So here we go against what looks like Burn, you would have to imagine. And so hopefully we can see the power of Radiant Guardian in this kind of matchup. Our blockers tend to be quite good. There's the 1 into 2, which is always quite good as well. Purify can be pretty good on something like a Boom Crew Rookie, so we will keep that in hand here. And I quite like this. Obviously we want as early a curve as we can get. I quite like you as well. We've got the attack on 1, so I am going to play the Fleet Feather first, I think. Attacking on 1 also gives us a bit of an advantage. There's Bannerman as well. So he goes for the attack there. I'll actually skip that block. I'm actually fine taking that. Because I think we can start picking off some of their units and making these favorable trades for us. Particularly with something like Lauren Protege next turn. Hopefully that is going to help us win this game. And so we will go for the Protege now. And you can see on this board he's already going to definitely pick off at least 1, if not 2 units. Brings in a rear guard as well. So what we're going to do is attack with you. I will take you and take you and kill you as well.
Can't fight on an empty stomach.
This way we've got quite a lot of value out of our cards already. We still keep the 3 health on the Protege, which means if he develops next turn, we potentially can get it up to 4, or we can kill this as well. So we're already getting a lot of value out of our units, you can see. He's going to continue to open attack. And so... Am I going to take that trade as is? I think I am. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop down the Grizzled Ranger. We've already seen this Protege go absolutely nuts. He's potentially going to kill 3 units, which is obviously absolutely crazy. We have to hope this isn't Demolitionist, which it is. It often will be. Not much we could have done. Again, purifying this can often be a good move. So what we'll do now is open attack with the Grizzled Ranger first. That's fine with me. So he's going to Noxian further. Not much we can do about that, unfortunately. So we have to put on as much pressure as we possibly can here, really. There is a Boom Crew rookie. I would like to purify that before he attacks. But I'm not sure we're going to have that option, in all honesty. I think we will just have to play Fleet Feather. In fact, what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to purify that Boom Crew before it attacks. Just because we aren't getting too much out of this Bannerman right now. And I think that that's what is important. Yeah. Unlikely he blocks with this, and that's kind of what I wanted. And now we can purify you before the attack. And essentially ruin his open attack. Which means now he'll probably have to develop. There's a Citrus Courier. So what we'll do now is obviously play Bannerman. Luckily we didn't play this last turn, as we wouldn't have got it. And then we know next turn we can end the game. Pretty easily. If he's just going to end the round, I'm very happy to do so. What's more is we have this attack. He needs 7 damage from hand, which I don't think he's getting. So we should be able to win the game this turn. We've got 1 attack. Got a lot of attacks this turn. So another Fervor. Now unfortunately, if that is Decimate, there's not much we can do. So we just have to hope he didn't draw Decimate, pretty much. He did not. Honestly, we might not even need that. We can drag you. Oh, we can't even block. We win anyway. We didn't even need the courier. It would have been nice on that turn. But we did get the win against Burn Aggro. And that was without even getting our Radiant Guardian, which is essentially a death sentence for them in that game anyway. So Swain Sejuani. Interesting. Could be an interesting game. And what I will say is, when you play championless, it does give you a slight edge in that the opponent obviously has no idea what you're playing. And that obviously can be a pretty big advantage. Swain Sejuani, so he's probably looking at self-damage, I would imagine. So single combat could be pretty nice, but I kind of want to curve out better than War Chef's Courier. Unfortunately, it's not to be. But, okay, maybe it is to be. And we'll get a nice kill on the Omen Hawk as well. With the War Chefs. Oh, there's a nice curve. Flavor and spice.
Oh, I can't
So
wait.
yeah, he's, ooh. That is a bit nasty. Got 3/4 Crimson Disciple. Not ideal. But we got Badger Bear to deal with it.
Delicious.
We, I think, have to give him his damage here. We can play Badger Bear now. And then we can curve into Bannerman. And as I say, this is kind of what this deck is trying to do. Double! Wow! Wow, this guy drew some cards. We will just go for it now. This is a... Yes, we could be greedy, wait even longer to Bannerman, but I don't want to get too greedy. And now we can kill one of these if we wish. Or not. That's fine too. Didn't want to kill it anyway. So we'll kill the Omen Hawk instead. Attack with the big old Badger Bear. The next turn we've got, again, as I say, a very strong card in Swiftwing Lancer. And this again could be pretty big in a certain spot.
Fight or die.
Fight or die, indeed. Right now his attack looks pretty average at best. We've got a choice here of Badger Bear or Cythria. I think I still prefer the Lancer.
Oh, I can't wait.
This guy just loves Crimson Disciples apparently. But yeah, he'll just pass. There's Bannerman again. I think what I want to do here though is choose whether we want to Citrus Courier or not. I'll take you as well. I'll attack like so. I want to at least give us the option with the Citrus Courier.
Come here, darling.
Okay, he takes this block. Now if he goes for something a little cheeky here, like a transfusion, which would not be a shock at all, we of course have the repost to keep this alive if we need to. And at this point obviously we can't play Courier, right? Because we haven't got any damage on him to face. So there's no point in trying that even. Ooh. A cheeky Harsh Winds, not what I was expecting. A cheeky Harsh Winds into Transfusion. But what that's going to let us do is actually keep this one alive by doing this. So now if we can get any damage on them beforehand, Citrus Courier would come in massive of course, as he would heal these all up and potentially give us a very good trade indeed. And so we will play the Cloud Field as well. We don't mind if one of these things dies. We do have Bannerman here as well. Oh, single combat, that's pretty nice.
Feel no fear, show no mercy.
Words to die by.
So he plays Sejuani. So at this point we will go in with Bannerman.
Ride onward.
So we could single combat the Sejuani here. He could be on something like Transfusion, which would make that play a little worse. But I do think it is worth trying at least. Is it worth trying? He's already played 1 transfusion. It's probably a 3-of in his deck. He's on 2 cards with exactly 2 mana up. I think he might have attacked with one of these if he had transfusion as a trick. So I don't think he's got it. Yeah.
I refuse.
She refuses. So now what we're going to do is obviously go in. We definitely will get the plunder this time. And the repost as well is helping us even more. So we'll go probably all in. Unfortunately we won't get to attack with you, but that's kind of fine as well. We're killing units. If he does try anything tricky, we do have the repost. And Citrus Courier could help us. Well, there you go.
I'll take everything.
So that's actually not going to save this one. If we can repost this little fleet feather. Okay. Well then, I will still repost you. And now you're about to see the power of rally effects with repost. Please don't surrender. Oh, has he got something else? Wow. Wow. Okay. Not what I was expecting at all. Though, wow. And when I talked about the power of this card. So now obviously our open attack isn't really that good at all. So I think we just have to play Cithria. This was an odd inclusion for him, I really do think. He does have a 6/9 now. Which obviously a bit of a problem, you could say.
I love a taste of the action.
I honestly think I'm quite happy to take that. Play the Badger Bear. I kind of want to see what's in his hand. The Leviathan. Okay, this guy's drawing nutty. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to kill this unit here.
Oh, this hurts.
Then we're going to go for an open attack.
In the name of our land.
Let's get a good look at you.
That's going to deal 9 damage. So unless he's got something here, we should have him. Even if he does have something here, we've got a nice little combo here into Protege Courier, and one of these should hit, you'd imagine. Let's go. So we did look out there. As I say, the power of Swiftwing Lancer is that it can sometimes get you a Cithria the Bold, which is pretty nuts. And Cithria is pretty nuts in general. But there you go. Wins on wins, stacks on stacks. It's all there, boys. Budget Bannerman. And I do think that this is quite an easy list to play. Obviously, it does require decisions. You saw right my decision making there. And the single combat the turn before was actually very important as it made our open attack lethal. And that's something that obviously is very important in that scenario, right? If we wait to use a single combat, then he gets to play a unit. And, you know, in that point, we're using single combat as an offensive tool, as our tool to say, we're going to win the game right now. You've got to do something. And getting in that scenario is really important. When you have your opponent on the back foot to the point where it's lethal unless you can do something, that's very important to do. And this deck does it pretty well. And yeah, we didn't get to see Radiant Guardian. We saw Citrus Courier have potential. If he didn't have Noxian Guillotine, it would have been perfect for that turn. But for whatever reason, he's playing Noxian Guillotine, which I think, you know, it is what it is. But that's the deck. I hope you have enjoyed. I certainly enjoyed it. Yeah. Hope you guys check this list out. Enjoy it. I've been Chris. Have a really nice day.